Welcome back. Okay, so my panel is now talk. All agree that all of us who are a product of good education. There's no doubt about that. And that is the only equalizer. And I'm happy that my panel is a good panel of people who know what education is all about, charged with responsibilities in different capacities to ensure that the leadership and education in this country is taken care of. And Mheshimiwa Pitorero also joining us. Mheshimiwa Pitorero is Member of Parliament of Bedroom? Bedroom, no, I want Bedroom.
Yes, yes.
Kibra constituency.
There you are.
Karibu sana. Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Then now we are getting into it. We are facing a situation. Mheshimiwa Pitorero is also a member of the Education Committee of Parliament and also a former principal. So we need to get into this very well. Now, the story I'm talking about is also, gentlemen, on the Daily Nation, and is packed on page 5 of the Daily Nation. So unfortunate that you don't have copies. Now, Education Cabinet Secretary blames education on ongoing financial realignments, quote unquote. And now public schools have closed a week earlier than scheduled due to delays in the release of government funds, throwing the academic calendar into disarray. That is one. And now raising concerns over preparations for national examination. Let me start with you, Mwalimu Sosion, Mheshimiwa, so that you can also help us to get this. First of all, welcome back and karibu sana to the program.
Yeah, thank you.
The situation in the country is, for lack of a better word, testing for the education system. Allow me to get your word on that.
Yeah, I think it was wrong to get mixed signals about what is happening in the education sector and what should happen.
Yes.
Kenya is a country that has fully subscribed to the provision of equitable, quality, public education, publicly funded education. And that is underpinned under Article 53 of the Constitution. It was a progressive aspiration to protect and codify the free primary education that was started by Kibaki, affordable secondary education, and gradually expanding access to higher education. And that's why Kibaki formatted every county to have a university. Some of the statements that came from some quarters of government were quite unfortunate. And that is not the position of government, it's not the position of the president, because the president is superintending education over a negotiated policy contained in the charter. And it's about enhancing more funding to education and ensuring that funding is directed to the right investment programs so that Kenyans can have value for their money. And when you look at this year's budget to education, it has gone up to 702 billion shillings. So what Mbadi should do at the Treasury, is to ensure that free education money is dispersed promptly on the 50, 30, 20 basis policy. Because the 50 on what is agreed, 50% is for first term, 30% for second term, and 20% during third term. That is the work of the Treasury, to collect revenue and disperse money to schools. What the Ministry of Education should do is to ensure that this money is properly audited in every school, because we've lacked accounting structures over the years. When Kibaki started free education, he established a tradition of proper auditing of money and public display and open transaction of these public resources. And I know the first audit firm that undertook to help schools in auditing was PricewaterhouseCoopers. And we should have this over time. And I've argued in this show that the Ministry of Education needs to revamp 2 areas.
Yeah.
To strengthen the audit department and unit at the Ministry of Education, that is 1. 2, to strengthen the quality assurance department. These 2 institutions, once they interact, will be able to guide in the proper investment programs at the school level. Take, for example, RMI. The RMI component within the capitation, of course, there's a school I'm working with, but in 1 year, they were able to save up to 18 million shillings. And right now, they're putting up a complete administration block and classrooms.
Yeah.
And the capitation, both in primary and secondary, primary has remained completely low, and it needs to be reviewed. That is, and that advisory is at the Presidential Working Party in Education Reform. It needs to be reviewed upwards. The second is at 22, but the 22, it is agreed not all that 22 is wired, maybe 16 or less. Then the question begs, why are we not complying with the 50-30-20 policy?
Yeah.
And this practice, laziness and abuse of this process started way back in 2017. So it has gone on over the, it's a practice that has been engaged in at the Treasury. And when it started, the audit system was weakened, so that really Kenyans don't understand what is happening. Even in your nearby school, it is not possible to know how much capitation was expected, how much was wired, and what has it done in the RMI, repair, maintenance, installation. Are we getting additional classrooms? Are we getting additional buildings? What has it done in other areas, in the areas of tuition?
Yes.
Are we getting labs properly equipped? Are we getting more books? Those are some of the things we need to look at, so that then, moving into the future, there are certain areas that government may not need to invest in, because things to do with infrastructure can be concluded, books and others, then you can direct the money to other needed areas. So there's a lot of work cut out, but there should be no debate in this country about funding of education.
But that is a big debate.
No, there should be no debate.
That is a big debate.
Body should disperse 50, 30, 20.
Thank you. That is a big debate, and you know,
agreed.
Honorable Mwangangi, the other day, around a day or 2 ago, you said that there is no money, and there's that clip. I wish we had it right now, but the big concern is there is no money trickling to education and in schools. What is your biggest concern? He says that the biggest concern should not be the capitation.
Thanks for the invitation, and congrats. The countries and the continent is about to start these Chan Games, and you are the official broadcaster of the same. Congrats.
Thank you.
Matters education. It is a disaster today to have the kind of government that we have in place. And I'm saying without blinking my eye, because anything this government does or rather pronounces, they will end up doing the very opposite. We are wondering, as we sit here, this week, schools are closing. Why? Even capitation of last term, some schools have not received. Why are they closing early? Failure by the government to remit funds to schools. Many principals, many ed teachers cannot attend even village gatherings because of suppliers running after them, because of what they have supplied to schools and they have not paid. This government, we are getting reports that there are ghost schools where the 700 plus billion, maybe where they are channeling to get the money to steal as usual. So the policy, you know, it started as a joke. And it is only that Kenyans, we do forget so soon, so easily, that a while ago, after this government came to power, they started as a joke. We could see lecturers in the streets. We could see students demanding for the release of the Higher Education Loans Board monies. The other day, we had the CEO saying they do not have, they are lacking funds. And I don't know any country on earth that has developed without focusing on education. When President Kibaki wanted to grow this country, he introduced free primary and later secondary education. I expected personally, from where I sit, doesn't matter who the country's head is, by now we be talking about free university education, not reversing what has already been started. Yet, let it go down to record. And by the way, I can refer to Kenyans, because I know majority knows. Go to Central Bank website. You don't need Mbandi, because you will be accused of sabotaging the government. And see the amount this country has borrowed since they came to power up to now. No government previously has ever borrowed the way they have done. In terms of revenue collection, no government before has ever collected what this government has collected. Yet, I don't know the whole where they are putting this money. So, it is sad. And Kenyans are left wondering, do we believe the person seated where the money is, or do we believe politicians on top of vehicles, busy campaigning and doing useless empowerment programs across this country? When you see these people moving, in fact, that is the money. If you cut the ever, because they are ever renovating State House and such likes. If you cut that budget and this empowerment, where you are seeing over 10 helicopters, guzzlers, going to crisscrossing to just go and pronounce total, that money is enough to finance our education sector in this country.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Pitorero, as a member of Parliament and Education Committee member, where is the money?
You know, you are putting your question like Education Committee keeps money. But I think, thank you for inviting us here. You must give credit to the Education Committee, because the last 3 weeks, we have been visiting various vital institutions of learning, just to ensure that our kids from primary to university get a good education. We went to HELB, went to university funding, and we tried to interrogate the mean testing instrument, the variables and the parameters used, so that as our students will report, we expect they will be given enough funding. Now to come to this education. I think politicians, some people are taking this out of proportion. We need to look at the budget lines, what was approved by a parliament to the Ministry of Education. I'm one of the people who raised this matter in the Education Committee. But looking at the explanation, the money was not ring-fenced. I went back and looked at budget estimates on education and found out that the capitation was about 54.6 billion Kenya shilling for education. And you remember also that after the budget estimates, there was outcry that the money for exams were also not put. So from that budget of 54 billion, I think also 5.9 billion was now allocated to the exams that will be done. And I also went and looked at the junior secondary and found out that we had about 30 billion for junior secondary, and we had 7.9 for primary, showing that primary will get about 1,400 Kenya shillings per student. Now, when we call the ministry, the Treasury CS and the CS for Education, the explanation that we got from the CS is that he has already disbursed 50%.
When was that?
That was on a Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Monday?
Yes.
Today, that was last week. Yeah, that was last week. So, according to the money that was budgeted for and the certificate given to the Treasury by the National Assembly, the CS Treasury categorically told us that already he has given the 50% and 30% for this term. It is about now the money allocated for this capitation is not yet again the 50% and 30%. I think the money that has been now allocated for capitation is a bit less because it is 54 billion with over 3 million Kenyan students.
Yes.
But what we told the Ministry of Education is that they must have proper data of the number of students in this country so that the capitation money must also be given according to the number of students in this country. It must not be stagnant because you realize that from 2017, because I've been in this education system, there is no single time that we have disbursed 22,000 shillings to any school because I was a principal since 2017. But what we are saying is that for the first time, we asked how much money has been given because nobody else has ever told Kenyans that this is the amount that has been allocated as a capitation to either secondary or primary school. It has always been a lump sum. So for the last 7 years, I am on record on this, and it's not the first time that we have been asking this question. I've asked it many, many times that really, would we know why the 22,000 that is always budgeted for by schools is never done? So it is only that this time the CS was a bit truthful to Kenyans. And when the headlines were, we saw the headlines from the newspapers, it is like it has been, the amount of money for education has been removed. No, it has not been removed. What the government needs to do, and after that, I followed this up. I was with the president over the weekend about this when he was pronouncing about this money.
Yes.
I also followed up and went and met the CS about this money of education. But what I can say that both of them told me that access to this education, they will ensure that the students have access, quality, and also realign these allocations that the Kenyan kids can get the education that they deserve. So I don't think that the money has gone. I think it is the allocation of this money which is important for the Kenyans to know.
Yes.
Because when the money has been, when we have the budget estimates, as the National Assembly, we have certificates for this so that we know this is the amount given to the education. It is upon the Ministry of Education. And when the money comes from the Treasury, it goes to the Ministry of Education. So it is upon the Ministry of Education to ensure prudent utilization of resources that they receive from the Treasury.
Okay.
And the reallocation so that our kids in both in primary and secondary get the required disbursement and promptly on time.
There is that aspect you said that it's 22,000 shillings, but there is no record showing that 22,000 shillings has been paid to any student. I don't know which figure is always reflected in students' accounts. You'll have to answer that later. But then, Mwalimu Akello Misori, listening to the three gentlemen, and based on also the records that we've received from Mheshimiwa here, what is your take on this?
I think it is a sorry state of affairs to begin with, and to say that from the explanation of from Mheshimiwa Orero, it appears that the Ministry of Education is a crime scene. And there is a collusion between Treasury and the Ministry of Education. Because if for 7 years no money has been, no target of 22,000 shillings has been met over this period, it means that that is a crime scene. We ought to have seen top government agencies dealing with criminal activities descend on the ministry and to find out where the problem is. Because how do we expect students, you know, the 22,000 shillings was, the allocation of 22,000 shillings was begun in 2013. And currently, we ought to have seen a progressive growth of this allocation go even to 32,000 or 42,000, for example, because we have had exponential increase in the cost of living over that period. And in the event that we are having a parliament, we are also having responsible government officers in the name of CSS, in the Ministry of Education and Treasury. Who keeps the data? So that we have just allocation, that 54 billion has been granted. And why is it not moving to 74, given the fact that annually we have got increase in the number of learners in early childhood education? Who keeps this data? The planning department of the Treasury itself is supposed to be seized with all the facts about the number of learners we have. The Ministry of Education needs to be giving a feedback that this is the trend of our growth, because they have these figures from school.
Yes.
And in fact, Mheshimiwa Mungangi has brought in another dimension, that there are ghost schools. I don't want to even to subscribe to that kind of imagination. Because why, if it is, there are ghost schools and they receive resources, why don't we have a report from the crime department that this is something which has been reported, and these are this is where the government is losing resources, so that we can provide education based on the need, because according to Article 53 of the Constitution, the right of the child, Kenyans decided to have free and compulsory education.
Yeah.
And therefore, we need to fund it. There should not be debate like what Mheshimiwa Sosion is talking about. We should not have a debate about this, because it is in the Constitution that we must have free and compulsory education in Kenya. The policies must be developed. And the oversight is our parliament. We should not have a desperate situation where the education committee, where Mheshimiwa Rero sits, saying that we have always asked this question. What have they done about it? I've never had this kind of debate on the floor of parliament violently canvassed, that we need to interrogate what the Auditor General is saying about the ministry and its expenditure record, and the ghost school system where we are losing resources. Why must we discuss prudent expenditure issues? Take note that, you know, we are talking about 22,000 shillings, and Honorable Mbadi has revealed that they have been disbursing on 16,000 shillings. What Mheshimiwa Rero has failed to tell us is that even that 17 or 16,000 did not reach schools. The schools actually got 11,000 shillings. That is the latest record. And even when Honorable Mbadi is saying that he has already disbursed 50%, that is a total lie. He is one person who has given us a total lie. Because this term is second term. This term, the schools received part of what was supposed to be disbursed last term.
Okay.
They did not receive any disbursement for this term, for example. That is the truth. And that is what's the most of our principals and head teachers fear to talk about this. We have a school just 2 kilometers away from KBC, which was stopped. They had been given a number of students to accommodate, and a parent went to court to challenge the extra levies that the schools charge. Those are issues which are there.
Okay.
Mheshimiwa has alluded to the fact that the many heads of schools fear going to the local functions because they are going to be attacked by suppliers. I think somebody must be responsible. I don't think this should be responsible. I don't think this is something which we should we should not take this one to the desk of the president.
Yeah.
We should not take this. Somebody must take responsibility, because you cannot expect the president to be the one giving assurance to Kenyans when taxpayers have already given their money to Treasury, and Treasury has given the money to the Ministry of Education, and the ministry has not disbursed.
Yeah.
We cannot talk about a crime scene that we are using soft gloves to punch the Ministry of Education.
So who is speaking the truth? When the CS says there's no money, Mheshimiwa Sosion, when the CS says there's no money, he even appeared before a committee yesterday in Parliament. There is no money, as yesterday but one, and then the president said over the weekend there is money where Mheshimiwa Orero was.
No, that is irresponsibility from a minister. And I think for once, those vested with responsibilities at the ministries must do right things. We don't need to have the president coming in to intervene and set the record straight. Anybody trying to talk about reducing capitation per student, I think is creating unnecessary trouble. And I'm telling you, Victor, since 2013, I have seen casualization of the education sector in this country and mismanagement. As of 2013, Kenya, in global competitiveness in terms of quality delivery and access, we were number one. But today, you go check with the facts. We are not anywhere near number 10 in Africa. That is in Africa. When we are here arguing about how to disperse 50% for first time, I think we must be insane. It is not the right thing to do. We should not be talking about government as at now has dispersed 50% of the capitation. The policy is clear. 50% first term per student. Per student. Today, this date, if schools have not closed, we will know school attendance all over the country by a stroke of the pattern through NEMIS or CHEMIS. So these arguments of budgeting, global budgeting, that this is for capitation is 54 billion, that 54 billion should be arrived at by computing allocation per student. So it is based on the number of learners who attend school, and they are known. For me, I indict 3 groups. One, I indict the Minister of Education. They're not auditing, they're not quality assuring schools, and the question is, they have to convince the country that they've supplied such data to the Treasury effectively. Let us call a spade a spade. And here, let us divorce these things from politics, Mwangangi, and everything that you want to link it to an individual. Let us discuss education as a common good for the country, and who should do what, and who is not doing it. So, Minister of Education. Treasury. Treasury don't need to give us stories. Their business is to collect money and disperse. Our economy is growing.
Yeah.
We are now at 22% GDP. The president has worked hard. The economy is stable. And so as the economy grows, there must be the relative growth in allocation to education. We are at 702 billion. Then Orero's team in Parliament never allow global allocation of capitation money when you are budgeting. Budget against the numbers. And you should be able to predict that the numbers will go up to this in 2026. We should be able to project as a country the expected enrollment in 2026, 2027, so that even in the medium-term expenditure framework, that is factored. So Parliament owes an explanation to the country in terms of allocation of money. So the story of global allocation should not arise. It should be per student.
Without Parliament,
and
they would not have
allow
known
me to
this.
give him a minute. Allow me to give him a
I
minute
still repeat
for a rebuttal.
And it's good you give us that data.
Okay.
Not necessarily rebuttal, but we are clarifying these issues for the good of the country, so that we don't pick it again, use it for political expenses.
Let's get from
so I
Mheshimiwa.
still repeat.
Okay.
Disperse. Treasury should disperse 50% first term. Term 1 begins in January up to early April. So all 50% of capitation, there is a policy, Akelo Missouri. That policy is there. And we should not negotiate policies that have been adopted. We should insist that we comply with policies.
Thank you.
Release 50%.
Thank you.
Second term,
Mheshimiwa Sossion.
second term,
Hold your
30%.
horses. Hold your
Third term, 20%.
Hold your horses.
And that is what Parliament should ensure, that the ministries are complying with that
Thank
provision.
you. Can you give him a minute to also for a rebuttal, Mheshimiwa? You've been accused that you're not doing your role as Parliament, but then now, let's bring it back home, the Education Committee.
Unless somebody is insane, we have the most robust education community ever. And if it was not robust, these things will not be coming out. I think as Education Committee, we have done our oversight role. And I also congratulate. Misora is the Secretary General of KUPPET.
Yes.
And when we were interrogating the CS of Treasury, his own chairman was with us in that committee. And
He's a speaker. Okay.
he's in the speaker's panel. And also put his case very, very clearly about this. And any form of imagination, prognostication, or any iota of thinking that the National Assembly is not doing its role is misplaced. Because without the National Assembly, we will not be where we are.
It is you flagged out.
So yeah, we flagged it.
It is a forum that the body was able to reveal
this.
certain facts. So I think we give them...
Give us credit where it is.
Okay.
But only that we don't need...
Do your work.
We need to do our work, but we don't need to seriously politicize this as Kenyans. We only need to investigate, try to find out, and ask why. But you see, after this, many politicians have taken this and have said that there is no money for education. It's like that education is not completely funded.
Yeah.
That is far from.
So what is the real truth? Because
Now,
students are going to be home for the next 1 month instead of 3 weeks. Yeah. Just a minute, Mheshimiwa. Just a minute.
I think it's about what you're saying. First, congrats for bringing it out. But I need also to maybe withdraw the same congratulatory message. Why? This week, schools are closing early. Fact. Why? Lack of resources. I do not agree or understand what Honorable Sosioni and Honorable Orero are insinuating, or what they mean when they say we should not bring these issues we are bringing politics into that into what we are discussing. I think, Victor, we need to be serious. I'm very serious. Whatever I've brought here is fact after a fact. It's not politics. In any case, it is actually the ODM wing of this government that is telling us this, and then the UDA part of it are saying what they are saying. And then we are now trying to accuse the Bandi of stating facts as they are. It is a fact that schools have not been given their capitation. Underline it. It's It's not politics, it is a fact. Number two, it is the responsibility of our national parliament through the education committee to oversee, because that is their constitutional mandate, to ensure our schools are functioning smoothly and the resources are sent to these institutions. Now, Honorable Sosion, when there is a lot of resources to fly politicians from one corner of the country to the other, what do you want me to say when our education system is suffering? And it is a fact. These people, they have resources to their disposal. I think, to be serious, because we have so many educated population, and I think massive resources these politicians are carrying. They need, we call a meeting at Uhuru Park. The educated ones can do that kind of business to get money. We are discussing education. It's very serious. It has got nothing to do with the politics.
My argument was when you bring in political activities of politics, we lose focus in objectively discussing what we have. Because Treasury does not pass money for politicians and for political activities. I think let's be serious. Let us not trivialize this discussion. You can have another forum to discuss that differently. But what we are talking about here is who really budgets the money. The National Assembly budget according to the number of learners and as per the agreed rates. The rates are now known, 22,240 per child in secondary school, senior school.
So where's the
16,000 in JS, 1,400 in primary. So those numbers should be budgeted and confirmed by Parliament. Treasury should raise money and disperse as per policy. The ministry should audit and ensure it works and it has the correct.
So let's get the figure.
That's what we are talking about.
So
when we concentrate on that,
is what is supposed to happen, but it has not happened.
When the DG here takes an advantage to take us to another agenda of politics, I think for me, I'll restrain myself. Let us discuss education as education.
I'll ask this question.
Let's discuss our taxes as our taxes.
Thank you.
And they must be remitted to school.
You know,
politics.
Please
go and discuss them in
before Honorable Mwangangi came in, Mheshimiwa Orero was on the floor of the House submitting. But the question is, so what is the real situation? 22,000 or 16,000?
You know, that is an obvious fact that, in fact, it's not 16,000.
Yeah.
It is 16,900.
So
that is the real, roughly is almost 17,000.
Yeah.
The explanation that is there is that we have had increase in the number of students. Because when we have the block budgeting, saying that maybe we have 54 billion for capitation.
Yeah.
Or we say that education is 702 billion. What we need to do is to ring fence these monies. If we say that this per student, we need to ring fence this money per student so that it is not used in any other activity. We know that the number of students in this country, maybe now they have gone to 3.5 million. And that is the high school.
Yes.
Junior secondary. Like we need to ring fence. If it is 30 billion and approximately they require 44 billion, we need to ring fence that money and say this money can only be used for junior secondary school. And for primary, which is 1,400, total to about 7.9 billion, we also ring fence this money. So that when we disburse 50%, we disburse 50% of the already ring fenced money for this education.
And during fast term.
I think that is, these are some of the
steps. At what stage should that happen?
You know, during the budget estimates.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to do this during the budget estimates.
Okay.
And after issuing the certificate from the National Assembly to the ministry, we should not have anybody interfering with the already ring-fenced money for education. But when it is left that it is a block budgeting, that it has not been ring-fenced, you might find that some amount of money can be moved. Like now, we moved about 5.9 billion to cater for examination.
Yeah.
Yet during the budget, which passed through the National Assembly, the money for examination was not budgeted for. So, you know, it is interfering with the money maybe meant for capitation or infrastructure. Now, this is what should not happen. We should strictly adhere to the budget estimates. And before it is even passed, we need to actually find out that this capitation money, is it going to be ring-fenced, or is it going to go to other vote heads?
A very good proposal there, and I think you have a lot of work to do in Parliament. Those are very good proposals. Akelo Misori was just looking at you and smiling. Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling.
You know, he was my colleague. You know, we were compared together.
I'm smiling because I am not trusting what Honorable Oredo is saying, that there is also another policy of ring fencing. I don't understand that. Because if the budget lines are drawn and known, that is how you come up with 54 billion. You cannot just say we have got 60 billion or 54 billion. For what? If it is 44 billion for junior secondary school and 7 billion for primary, then it is already known that is there. Then even arriving at 44 billion for junior school or for secondary school education, it was based on the element of the fact that it was going to do this infrastructure this much, recurrent expenditure is this much, and so on.
Okay.
I think that is why I was smiling. But again, all said, I agree with what Honorable Sosion is saying, that let us not mix issues. If we are discussing education and what affects it, let us just go straight to this. I would want us to discuss and dissect the crime scene where there is collusion between Treasury and the Ministry of Education.
Can you just hold that thought?
In terms of concealing data,
yes,
which is supposed to be used for disbursement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. Let's take a break. I want to fill Sosion's cup. His cup is empty. We are coming back to talk about this. Stay with us. Welcome back. So let's get into it. Testing time for the education system, but we need to mark it very well so that we can have a distinction in the education system. Mwalimu Akelo Misori, you say that there's a crime scene somewhere.
A crime scene is in the Ministry of Education, because we expect the Ministry of Education to be on top of things in terms of keeping the number of learners who are exiting and who are coming in to be funded by the public. In the event that they have not provided this data, then that is the import of what Honorable Mbari was saying, that we have had a number of, the budget based on the number of students whom, when you calculate the average, then you cannot disburse 22,000 shillings 200. You must just disburse 16,000. Who has provided this data? And with what intent? We have got a very fatigued system in the Ministry of Education, which has created a lot of corrupt practices. And that is why Honorable Mwangagi was saying that they are ghost schools. The fact that they are hiding information, they are not giving the right information to be factored in the budget, is the reason for which there is confusion. I would be inviting DCI to descend on the Ministry of Education.
Do you have enough teachers as Kupet?
The teachers so far, I think that is an issue which we need to applaud the current government. Because in the history of this country, because Honorable Sosion is here, I know he's now happy that I'm supporting what he really lobbied for. For us to, in 2 years, to have 76,000 teachers employed, it is unprecedented and it must be lauded. What now remains is to keep the comfort of the same teachers through a motivated process that they will not stagnate in their promotion and so on. But we are not yet there on the number of students who are supposed to discharge quality education in this country. We still have quite a number of teachers who qualify to be in the system. Another issue which is there is that the number of these teachers who have been employed in recent times ceased to be teachers long time ago because they were employed after being out from college for a number of 8 years, 10 years, and so on. They are no longer teachers. We needed to have a program also to retool them, to remind them of what they learned in college. Yes.
Okay.
So you can be having those numbers, but are they the right numbers to discharge quality education? So those are the things which must also be factored in the education budget.
Thank you. What do you want to say, Mheshimiwa?
Before we forget about data, data is important, and not just data, quality data. And this brings to fore a department called planning. And it reminds me of what I saw in Malaysia, the Ministry of Education, planning department.
Yeah.
Planning department is the engine of the education sector. And I think this country needs to strengthen the planning department at the ministry that conducts quality research from time to time and assembles data that is right. Because when we talk of, oh, this is what we have been doing from 2017, and you are telling us in 2025, that is a cool 8 years. So we have been messing up with education for 8 years, and the arguments are that we are not accurate about numbers. The Ministry of Education developed what we call NEMIS, and which has now been upgraded to KEMIS. It's National Education Management Information System. Now it's Kenya Education Management Information System.
Which are,
There should
they
be
are
no
not stated, they are
doubt
intending
about
to use it.
But I'm talking about data. You cannot allocate money to a ministry that does not have data. And I think the argument of data should not be an excuse. It should be removed off the table. Why are we messing up with data rather than using the data to execute clear programs? Let me say, Victor, Kenya is able to predict the number of students next year and plan in its budget. Kenya is able to predict the number of students in 2027, in 2028, 2029. We should be able to project even the teacher requirement in 2030 and begin planning for 2030. We should be doing what we call forward planning and implementing as we move, but we cannot be reacting in retro.
Yeah.
Now you take the whole country back to 2017. That is wrong, and no wonder. And I made this lots of noise about these ragtag education reforms during my time as SG, and I warned the country that some of these programs that are being implemented are more business flagships, and the country was no longer interested in protecting and safeguarding the delivery of quality education. And this is what must be corrected now and today. If we were number one in global competitiveness in Africa, in access and quality in 2013, and down by 2025, we are below number 10. And we are trying to come up. The efforts, we can see, they are palpable. The teacher question is being handled. The curriculum review issues are being handled. It is a mess that was too much. It was way out of this world. And to correct it is going to take time. And that is why when you call us into this show, allow us really to deal with the very specific cogent and cardinal issues about education, and we talk about them. And I still insist, Parliament should, let us not even talk about ring fencing. Parliament Education Committee, you should be privileged to be given all this data, and you supervise and oversight the ministry using this data. And there should be no reason why Treasury can sit pretty when they have not even dispersed the 50%. That is violating the very policy that was developed by government of dispersing 50% first term is first term, and it should go out in first term. Disperse 30% second term, and it should go out in second term. So that right now, we should be talking about free education money being dispersed at 80% as we are seated here. So the excuses of delays, education should be treated with the prime attention, just like security.
Yeah.
The security of the country is in education. And so anything to do with education should not be an item of cheap negotiation and excuses here and there. So education should be handled meticulously and clearly.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Mwangangi, before you come in, let me just ask Mheshimiwa Rao this question. So what should parents look for or look at when the schools reopen next term? An increment in extra school fees paid by the parent, or the regular and verified school fees, the capitation?
You are asking me like I was the Minister for Education. Me, I do the oversight role as a Member of Parliament. That the policies and implementations of the Ministry of Education are done at the ministry level. So what we expect is that the Ministry of Education must come out and assure parents that the money for capitation will be in schools before they open.
Yes.
I think that is what we need to be assured, so that as the parents bring back their students in school, they should come knowing that their students will have enough money to sustain them until the end of third term. That is, that capitation of 20% for the third term should be released on time, so that the school,
with arrears.
And if there are arrears in each school, they should also be released, so that all the money meant for capitation in whichever school should be disbursed before the students come back. At this juncture, normally, the all schools budget at the beginning of every financial year through the board of management, and it is. This fee structure is already given to parents. I don't think it is at this moment they will be able to change the school fees, because what they only needed to change is the remittance, all remittance of the capitation that is required in school, and if there are arrears, the ministry should be able to remit so that schools come and run properly. That is what we expect at policy level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Mwangangi, a few days ago, the Council of Governors, probably if you may be privy to this information, is that they also raised concern over the capitation, the physical bit of it. How is it influencing the running of the counties?
One, the counties give bursaries. And because education is the perfume of the national government, we were directed. Those specific counties who have set aside a budget line for bursaries, they need to sign something with the national government, so that what they are doing is something that will not raise these audit queries or be used by some crooked persons to misappropriate resources at that level. And then what we were saying is, face it, as a country we are facing a serious challenge when it comes to financing of our education sector. And our bosses, the governors, have a feeling that these parents are the same parents who elected national government, who elected county leadership. So whenever they are suffering, we cannot claim to be progressing well as a county if the people who elected us are suffering. I agree with my fellow panelists that we need to do everything possible to ensure we implement the policies that promote free education in this country. I'm saying once again, it is sad that post Kibaki, we are still not talking about, we are still talking about financing of our education sector. Today, it is my personal belief that education in this country should be quality, should be free. Because when you look at, although we are saying we strain ourselves to matters education, but it is about resources. If you see a policy that is encouraging waste, that is promoting theft of public resources, that should be going to this, what we are discussing today, it must be called out. And that's why we are saying, from where I sit, that we need, you have asked a very good question, that what do parents expect as schools reopen? It is a fact, they are closing early due to lack of institutions. It is also a fact that Kenyan parents, Kenyan taxpayers are highly taxed. Okay? And then this affecting the pay slips of the same parent who is now expected. By the way, many schools, as students are being sent home, the fee structure. That fee structure, in case the government is not going to foot that bill, the parent will be expected to pay. I think this is a very important topic we are discussing today. It is about the future of this current this country, and I have a feeling that the government should focus on implementing the policy that exists. The issue of 50% at the start, yes, is a good policy, but you are expected to pay in advance everything. So as much as we are advocating 50% at the start, we should be thinking as a country, how do we ensure remittance, full amount of that specific term at the start of the term, so that schools can be in a position to plan how to go about leading these institutions, so that as a country we have a better quality education.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I want us to do this. The question I want to ask you, Mheshimiwa Mwalimu Akelo Misori, how has CBC impacted anyway in the school capitation?
To a large extent, it has also affected, it has been affected, and it has affected the capitation itself. Because there are supposed to be certain requirements which are being fixed by the capitated amounts.
Yes.
So that one has really affected the disbursement, which is irregular, has really affected the implementation in itself.
Okay.
So that's a fact. Yes. So when we talk about going forward, as other panelists would also admit, we have to fix what is not working. And I'm just repeating that it is simple that we have to keep a reliable quality data to be used in the disbursement. We cannot sit in comfort when somebody does not want to do the right thing. We need to stop now passing blame when we know the culprits. The culprits are only operating in two places, in the Ministry of Education and the Ministry at the Treasury. If the Treasury fails to disperse money early to the Ministry, and if the Ministry fails to give the correct data, then we are likely not to have achieved this. And with me, I'm painting a very gloomy picture to our parents as they let them prepare to put the bill. Because already we have had a lot happening. Just this year, a judgment came from our courts against a school which charged extra levies. because of the need to accommodate more students who are actually given to them by the same government to accommodate, and with no attendant resources to facilitate their stay in that school. The courts have pronounced themselves that you cannot charge extra levies. In that event, it therefore follows that if we have ineffective disbursement process from Treasury to the ministry and ministry to schools, then the parents must take the burden to foot the bill. That is a fact. We must also look at other options going forward. That is it viable to continue having the schools in the current structure of boarding, day school and so on. We must start thinking and discussing as a nation that we need to move away from boarding, which has made the schools to be so expensive to manage. Because the schools being run as boarding entities are very expensive to manage.
In fact, as Kupet, you've really been running about this one.
They are very expensive to manage. So the government must open a forum for us to negotiate how we must run our schools. Such that learners can walk to the nearest school and which provides education which is standard everywhere. And then we stop the classification of our schools to accommodate this kind of thought.
So Sion wants to respond to something. I'll treat that as your closing remark.
I'm not responding, but I'm just advancing the cost of CBC. Because I argued previously, when I directed various research studies on rollout of CBC, that the country must sit and discuss the economics of CBC. It was brushed by Matiang'i and Magoha. But you agree, this administration has had to bear a huge burden of new costs in relation to CBC. Because in grade 7 in 2023, the first cohort in grade 7 had their capitation move up from 1,400 to 15,000. That alone is billions and billions of shillings. And this 2024, it moved to grade 8, to grade 9. And that's new 15,000 shillings per student. That tells you the marginal increase in terms of capitation has really gone up. And who pays for that? It is still the taxpayer. I don't support reintroduction of indirect charges as a mitigation measure for late remittances to parents. That burden should never be passed to parents. And nobody should contemplate that kind of a thought. We don't need to do that. Let's put our systems clean and right to work and spare the parents, because the child's right has been protected in the Constitution. And if you pass it to parents, you are essentially telling the learners to pay. And that is gross violation of the Constitution, not even a law, the Constitution itself as it stands.
But so who fills the gap? Who fills the gap for the failure for disbursement?
There should be no gap. And we should not entertain failure. Money should be disbursed. This is not a poor economy. This is an economy that does well. And this is an economy that can raise taxes. And why did we agree on 50% and agreed on certain amount per student? If that is agreed and it is government policy, you don't operate outside government policy. Then number two, the cost of education per child should be reviewed periodically. That we should be able to discuss in 2025 the cost of education in primary, the cost of education in junior, the cost of education in secondary, strictly with respect to tuition and teachers. The issues to do with boarding, those are extra unnecessary luxuries. Kenya should have worked out of boarding systems as of now, so that then, or reduced it substantially. And it has, because 24% of Kenyan learners in secondary schools are in boarding. 76% are day scholars. So I think the country should continue injecting resources and elevating quality outcomes in day secondary school.
Okay.
Kenya should invest heavily in day education.
Allow me to
so we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
All right.
We need to be serious. And I think we are becoming a little bit lazy in the approach to education, even in how we argue. When we argue that because of delayed disbursements, let us now revise the fee structure and transfer it to parents. I think that's very naive. It has no place.
Is there hope for the parents come next term?
I believe there should be hope.
Yes.
Because I engage the CS myself, the CS Treasury, and also in my opening remark, I said we are also with the President, and talked about this education. We believe that for this country to move forward, the priority should be in the education sector. And you can see the kind of heat that it has generated within this short time, 1 week. So for a good government, one thing they must do is to ensure that by the time these children and students are coming back, they need to have the full capitation
in school
accounts. I think with that we'll be making
complete with arrears.
We will be making progressive advancements in terms of education management in this country, and this is the only thing that I can do to Kenyans. Kenyans still believe that it is only education which equalizes people. As a country, our first priority, just as my colleague had said, education and security, they should go hand in hand. The way we give priority to security is the same way we must give priority to education. So say that without education we could not be here where we are, all of us. So we need to give quality, access, and good education. So I believe that as they come back, they should find the capitation money in their accounts. Yes.
Thank you.
I think, Victor, today I'm the happiest person because of the panel that you have brought. At least Mheshimiwa Orero and the Sosion are in agreement. The government is not doing what it is supposed to do. And at least has gone as far with the one which is there now. Education. This is very important. Victor, this is very important. I think if we are honestly, if we are to prosper as a country, if we were to transform this country from developing to developed, education must be at the center of everything that we do.
Yeah.
I agree. We need continuous review of our policies, especially when it comes to quality of education and budgeting of the same.
Yeah.
It is always good that we be current. If you go to Ministry of Education, and there is something that has slipped out of our discussion here, something that came out strongly from a question that was raised by Mheshimiwa Orero. That is, 50% of the monies were given from Treasury to Ministry of Education. Yet, from the Ministry of Education to schools, you cannot trace that money. And it is the reason why, because of lack of these monies, is the reason schools are closing early. I agree something needs to be looked into on a serious note. On a serious note, something needs to be looked into. And I request Mheshimiwa who raised this national debate, and thanks for that, to still dig in and ask what really happened. Because this is a serious, whoever is behind this is playing with the future of this country. And we need to be serious when it comes to education. This is not a political issue. This is a serious issue, which every Kenyan, every leader must address himself or herself into it, because it is a serious matter. It is where the future of this country lies. Thank you.
Okay, the money was released, but there's a gap somewhere. The money from the Treasury to schools. Gentlemen, I think that's a very good point to wrap it up. I have to thank all of you for coming to the show. The last person who spoke is Honorable Francis Mwangangi, Deputy Governor of Machakos County. Thank you so much for coming to the show. Mwalimu Akilo Misori, who is a COPET Secretary General, you'll still have to tell us next time the transition and the promotion of teachers. You've been really fighting for that, equality, accountability, and so much more. But that one we'll save for another time. Thank you for coming. And Mheshimiwa Sosion, former NAT Secretary and also nominated MP. And well, as a Member of Parliament, Kibra constituency, Peter Orero. Gentlemen, asanteni sana for coming. And from them, you can be assured as parents and students that as we start next term, in a month's time, that there will be money in schools. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Lo. Good morning.